They screamed and screamed and screamed. They didn't vote for him because he's a racist or a misogynist. They voted because they needed help in their everyday lives. Every racist and misogynist voted for Donald Trump. Not everyone that voted for Donald Trump was a racist and misogynist.
I agree with that.
That needs to be on a t-shirt.
We all sat around kind of wondering, who is the swing voter that will decide this election? It turns out it was people in the suburbs who are like, I can't stand Donald Trump's personality. I don't like how he talks, but my life was better off economically when he was president.
I don't blame Joe Biden. I don't blame Kamala Harris. I blame a messaging within the Democratic Party.
You don't
Amen.
blame the Republican
Can I just
Party at
finish
all?
my point?
Really?
The bigger question should be, yes, Sonny, why did they vote for him?
Yes.
In sweeping...
So they need to be introspective.
No, we need to be introspective.
I love you, Sarah. Hi, friends. Welcome back to my channel. So Donald Trump won the election, and of course, The View is going to have to get into it.
Aside from buck naked dancing on the top of the table, I don't know what else she could have done.
I don't think she could have done more. I think she left it all out on the field. I think she raised $1 billion in 3 months. She ran a flawless campaign, and I maintain that.
They are very animate about how much they dislike Donald Trump. He's been the topic of conversation ever since 2016, a couple times before that, but mostly since 2016. And he will continue to be the topic of a lot of conversation going forward. Whoopi Goldberg actually refuses to say his name, and I have some strong feelings about that. If you have not subscribed to me, I'm very much a middle of the road kind of person. I don't belong to either political party. I'm an independent. I purposely choose not to share who I vote for because things are so divisive, but I love having the hard conversations. And because I am not having any allegiance to either side, I can celebrate and I can criticize either side as I see fit. I really do try to be objective, and I try to be based, and I try to be balanced and fair in my analysis with how different parties, well, there's really only two, right? I know that there's not just two, but we live in a binary. It's either Democrat or Republican. It just really is. I wish it wasn't. I wish we had more choices like American Idol. I wish there were 5 presidential candidates all out campaigning, all over the news, all over interviews, and we had a bunch of choices, right? But it really is just a two-party system, and I really resent that, actually. I think that's why I'm independent. I don't like signing away all of my views to one party and having them decide what I view. That's just not me. Going forward, that's what you're going to get with me talking about these issues. So we're going to get right into it.
Here come Hot Topics with Whoopi.
Pretty sure this is Leona Lewis, right? She's one of my favorite singers.
Yesterday, President Biden reminded America how the democratic process is supposed to work by actually accepting the election results. Shocking.
I will agree with that. If you are contesting the election results, they stole the election or whatever, and you don't really have strong evidence, it's just because it didn't go the way you like it, I think that's poor sportsmanship. I do think that when America decides and America makes her decision, even if it goes against your desired outcome, if it's not in your favor, you should still respect it and say, hey, this is what democracy is. This is what makes our nation great.
He congratulated Trump. He praised Kamala Harris for running an inspiring campaign and told Democrats to not give up hope. Watch.
That's inspiring.
You can't love your country only when you win.
Amen.
I also hope we can lay to rest the question about the integrity of the American electoral system. It is honest, it is fair, and it is transparent.
Okay. I don't want to cry, but I might cry. This man, what he's gone through, you know, I don't want to feed like conspiracy theories, but I think there was some validity to the fact that maybe when he resigned from running again, he didn't even know. I do think that someone took his phone and maybe withdrew him without his knowledge. There were rumors that maybe there was trouble in paradise, that him and Kamala weren't really vibing for a while because she just kind of inherited the throne and was just kind of put in that place to run for president. And no one really on the left contested that. No one really said, don't we need to like get her in here the ethical way? Why is she just innately here? Joe Biden went through a lot, I would say. He's been going through a lot with his cognitive ability. And for him to come out here and to praise Kamala, to congratulate Donald Trump, to celebrate the system that now is putting Trump as the next president-elect, just my hat's off to him. This shows character. This shows integrity. This shows vulnerability. And it's about to make me cry because I know he's gone through a lot. So I just want to give honor where it's due. That is really, really cool.
We're going to be okay, but we need to stay engaged. We need to keep going. And above all, we need to keep the faith.
That is just so inspiring. Yeah, that deserves praise. That's good.
Democrats are a little bit confused about what to do. They're trying to figure out why their campaign message fell on deaf ears.
That's going to be the conversation we're going to have today, okay? So because this was a landslide victory for Donald Trump and the Republican Party, I think that it's a wonderful idea to have a show like The View, who is all very, very liberal. I know that Alyssa and Ana Navarro self-identify as Republicans, but their views itself tend to be quite liberal, if I can say that, because I think I'm being honest about that. Although Alyssa used to work for Donald Trump, she now is quite critical of him. So this is the perfect place for them. They're all peers, essentially. They all voted against Donald Trump, for them to come together and decide upon themselves, maybe as a campaign in the Democratic Party, what can they do different? What can they do better the next election in hopes of winning?
And the finger pointing has begun.
Of course. If you are playing a game and the other side wins, while they go off, everybody on the team that didn't win will start, well, you should have passed that ball to me on the right. Hello, you left early. I didn't even know where you were, so I passed to Johnson. Finger pointing. Instead of looking inward, people tend to just keep blaming. If they're not blaming the winning team, they cheated or whatever, then they start blaming each other instead of looking inward.
Watch this.
Senator Bernie Sanders, he says that he has suggested that party leadership abandoned the working class. What's the White House response?
I respectfully disagree with the senator, and I think you can talk to unions. You could see the jobs that we've been able to create to disprove that. And this is a president that cares certainly about the people who do get forgotten, the people who are not able to make ends meet. He understands what it's like to sit around a kitchen table trying to figure out how you're going to pay for a medical bill.
Hold on. Bernie Sanders, a Democratic socialist, essentially. He's been hailed. He's been celebrated by the Democratic Party for so long. And now that he says the messaging didn't really come through, you might say that you're for the working class, people who are struggling financially, but that didn't come across. So he's criticizing the Harris campaign for not connecting with voters that way. She says, I disagree with him. Okay, so you'd think that the messaging was strong. She doesn't answer that. She's going on about what the president cares about. I feel like this was Harris's campaign, but she's focusing on Biden. But they kind of are synonymous, I would say right now. That's kind of the idea behind why people voted red, because it did feel like it was going to be a second term of Biden, because during Kamala's campaign, she didn't really do a lot to separate herself from Biden. So it really was going to be essentially, to most people in their minds, part two of Biden's administration just under the face of Kamala Harris. Instead of confronting whether or not that messaging came through, because that's the question, she just talks about what she believes he feels about the people. So she's dodging the question. She's not talking about the messaging. That's the question. She's talking about what he feels. Those are two different things.
How are you going to pay for your kids' school? How are you going to pay for groceries? And so does the vice president.
So do you think Bernie was right about this, that they didn't pay attention enough to the working class?
He's absolutely right, but his solutions are wrong. Kamala Harris outperformed him in Vermont. The lesson Democrats should take is not, we didn't run far enough to the left. They lost rural voters. They lost working class voters. And listen, I was someone who, I'm recognizing, reflecting on this election, I had the privilege of saying I'm voting on democracy because I'm a high-income earner. If your check engine light is on and you've got bills piling up on the table, you're not thinking about democracy. You're not thinking about the war in Ukraine. You're thinking about, how will my life be better tomorrow?
Wow. I just have to give credit where it's due. She's acknowledging that she is rich. She says, I have the luxury, I have the privilege, because I am a high income earner, to not have to worry about putting food on the table and being able to afford clothing for my children or medical bills. I have the luxury of not having to worry about that stuff because I make a lot of money. So I can think about other things, and those other things, she's saying, and probably Bernie Sanders too, those other things were more of what the Harris campaign was focusing on. You do come to the hierarchy of needs and priorities. And for a lot of the working class that flipped red, they flipped red because a lot of their economic problems they did not see being promised to be solved through the Harris campaign. So that's what she's focusing on. And I love that Alyssa is saying, I didn't have to worry about that. I was able to focus on the other stuff. But a lot of the working class, they can't. It's practical for them. And that's why they voted for Donald Trump.
And the reality is this, we all sat around kind of wondering, who is the swing voter that will decide this election? And a lot of folks thought it was women and abortion. No, it turns out it was people in the suburbs who are like, I can't stand Donald Trump's personality. I don't like how he talks, but my life was better off economically when he was president.
That is such another important point. So many people think, and Sunny Hostin's one of them, that if you voted for Trump, automatically it's because you're hateful, you're a racist, you're a misogynist, you are anti-trans, you are anti-gay. And that is just so irresponsible, because you're completely dismissing and disregarding all the other reasons that people probably could have voted for Trump. A lot of people, and I'm glad that she said that, they voted for Donald Trump even though they don't like him. They don't like him. They're not a fan of him. They're not going to wear MAGA hats. But when it came to the practicality of voting, they were voting for a job. Their vote is going to put somebody in a job. Whoever's going to look like they're going to get that job done to meet their needs, that's who's going to get their vote. For many people, it wasn't about a popularity contest, but he won the popular vote because of the job. If this was Miss America or something where it was more about the popularity or who you like more as a person, who has a better, clean moral slate, I think Kamala probably would have won that. But that's not the job, even though that is what campaign tries to be, because they mudsling one another, right? They tear each other's character apart. You're going to see, I'm sure, Sunny Hostin bring in Donald Trump's criminal history and what a terrible person he is. And that does have some relevance. But for many people, it's more about survival. Yeah, this person's probably a creep. This person probably does belong behind bars. But I've seen them be president. Things were better. And what he's saying sounds more consistent with what he's going to do versus what the other one's saying. So reluctantly, I'm going to check that box. I don't like him, but this is who I want to be in that role, because that will help me and my family. People are not, they're so uncomfortable with having that conversation because immediately they want to demonize somebody who voted for Donald Trump that way, instead of saying, well, there is some relevance there. I can kind of see that. It's like, again, we have this binary thought. It's all or nothing. You're either with us or you're against us. And that's why there's so much division in this country. That's why I resent this two-party system.
And I'm struck by this.
But that's the middle class. We're talking about the working class.
It's everyone.
Broadly. Yeah. He was not just the working class that he won. He also got the largest share of young voters for Republicans since 2008. That was the height of the financial crisis. Young voters, maybe they care about Gaza, maybe they care about student loans, but to be honest, 2/3 of this country doesn't even get to go to college. They were thinking, am I going to have a job? Am I going to be able to afford the life that I want? And finally, suburban women, sure, they definitely care about abortion. They also care that they're paying to send their kids to college and their graduations are being canceled because there's protests everywhere and because people are out in the streets demonstrating over a war somewhere else rather than just being able to educate their kids.
I work at a lot of colleges in the line of work that I do, and I think anyone that's either in college now or you work at a college or you just pay attention to the news and a lot of these conversations when they happen on college campuses are intense with hyper-left ideology. And there are a lot of protests, and there's a lot of things that actually do distract from education on the campus as well as inside the classrooms. A lot of the curriculum leans heavily into politics, social politics. So you have hyper-left ideology into the syllabus, into the curriculum, into the homework assignments that you have to go through to pass your college courses. I know a lot of people who are currently in college now that have to be like, really? Like this is going against so many of my beliefs, and I'm pretty liberal, but it's so far liberal that it's even leaving me in the dust. I don't believe this stuff. I don't subscribe to this ideology, but if I don't abide by it and allow this indoctrination to get in, then I'm not going to pass this class. Why won't people have that conversation? It needs to happen. I think this is why people are rolling their eyes. I do think that hyper-left ideology infiltrating Hollywood and Disney and all that stuff, DEI and all of that, that definitely, I think, has continued to leave a very bad taste in the mouth of even a lot of liberals, of even a lot of Democrats. It's too much. It's death by chocolate. It's almost creating victim narratives that aren't based in reality at all. And so they're like, gosh, like, you're going to push me to the other side because you're just too much. And I can't take this. And I do think that that played a big part as well in a lot of the flipping that went on from blue to red.
So much room for self-reflection from the Democrats, and I hope they have it. Every time Joe Biden bragged about how good the economy is, another vote of someone struggling went to Donald Trump.
True.
Anybody else?
I disagree.
All right.
Of course you do.
I think that I'd like to reframe the conversation. I think Bernie Sanders is wrong.
Wow. Of course she wants to reframe the conversation. She probably wants to make it about race and misogyny and homophobia. That's her favorite things to do. Now, I will say it's very interesting that now she disagrees with him because remember, just a few years ago on this very show, she called Bernie Sanders a vanguard, meaning that she believes he is at the forefront of developments and ideas.
Does anyone pay any attention to me?
They think their vote doesn't count. And I agree with you, Senator. I think your ideas were, you've been a vanguard in that sense. And people were saying that the things that you were saying were just crazy.
Yeah. She even praised him for Elizabeth Warren taking a lot of his ideas that he came up with first.
Let's talk about then Senator Elizabeth Warren, because not only is she a friend of yours, she shares a lot of the same ideas that you came out with first.
So now all of a sudden you disagree with him? This man that you think actually says a lot of sensible things because he's not towing that narrative. Now he's asking the Democratic Party to self-reflect, and that's the worst thing in the world that Sunny Hostin wants to do, because it's always everybody else's fault. It's never the fault of her ideology. Everybody else is racist. Everybody else is misogynistic. Everybody else is homophobic. Mostly race. That's her favorite thing to play. And it's just really, really frustrating when you have, I mean, she's surrounded right now by her peers. She's in good company. There's not going to be a lot of people who are going to debate her from a pro-Trump stance. Everybody there voted against Trump. So she's in a safe place, if you want to call it, to be able to say, okay, guys, maybe we can go back to the drawing board. What did our side not do very well? But she can't do that. I mean, this is classic. I mean, I know it's harsh to use that word narcissism, but that's kind of a classic thing with narcissists. They cannot look inward. They cannot self-reflect and grill themselves on where they can improve. They run from that like the plague, and they kick and scream. So you're about to see Sunny start to get clawy because she's being cornered by her own side.
I think the more relevant question actually is, what is wrong with America?
See?
I think
all of America's wrong, not her.
What is wrong with our country that the Republican Party would choose as a candidate and support a candidate who is an insurrectionist, who is an election denier?
See? Let's change. That's just what she said. I want to change the conversation. Let's not talk about the numbers, and let's not talk about the economy, and let's not talk about what the values are for the working class, because that's too real. Let's go back to the narrative that I like, that Trump is all these terrible things, which may or may not be true. And that is something that people should consider. But it wasn't enough if voting for him was going to get them out of the very real problems that they're experiencing right now. I can agree that that in itself can be a different conversation. She could have phrased it that way. You know what, you guys, there's something here. Maybe we should talk about the hierarchy of priorities and needs and where morality fits into that. It's kind of the idea of bringing in a monster to get you help from another monster. Remember in Jurassic Park when, I don't know if it was Allosaurus or whatever, but there was this crazy dinosaur that was on a rampage. And then I want to say Idina Menzel because she looks just like her, but Brian Dallas Howard, I think is her name. She goes and gets the T-Rex and then sicks him on the other one. And I think that that's kind of how people have been voting these last few elections. It's more about the lesser of the two evils because we are in a binary when it comes to voting. So if you really, really don't want one, you have to vote for the other. It's rock in a hard place. And I think that that's what it is. People just so badly wanted to get out of a part 2 of the Biden administration under the face of Harris, they would have voted for anyone. And then they had the past to review on. We have proof it was better pre-pandemic with Trump. Let's try that again. But Sunny can't have that conversation. That's too nuanced. That's not black and white enough for her.
Who is someone who is twice impeached, 34-time convicted.
Why are you smiling? Why are you smiling if this is something that's not happy news? I don't understand that. That's probably a personality thing when people smile. I was beaten up last night, and then why are you laughing? And then did you just hear people start to clap? Don't applaud this. Don't reward behavior that is evasive. All you're going to make her want to do is stay on these narratives that are not helpful.
Someone who has been accused.
Disappointing that they're clapping.
Conduct by 26 women found liable for sexual abuse. what is wrong with this country that they would choose a message of divisiveness?
Hold on. Not that those concerns aren't real about the 26 women that raised questions of sexual misconduct. Those are valid conversations. I don't mind those conversations. But if you're going to have this conversation about why people voted for him, it's okay to start compartmentalizing, because there's different reasons that people vote for someone. It's not just a popularity contest. Who's the prettiest? Who's the best looking? It's mostly, at the end of the day, you're putting somebody in a position to either help or make your situation worse. For some people, the only thing that matters is how well are you going to do that job that you were given. And Kamala Harris doesn't have a lot in her favor on that part, because she's been in a place of authority for the last 4 years. Even the Democrats, nobody really knows what she's done. And a lot of the things that was delegated for her to do, she didn't do. And then when it was time for her to campaign, instead of promoting new ideas and gently separating herself from Biden, she didn't do that. She just mudslinged at Trump and then took up his policies. So she wasn't really doing a lot to speak to the working class. She didn't make them promises that resonated with them. That's okay to discuss. Trump won overwhelmingly. Let's have that discussion. But Sunny doesn't want to have it.
Of xenophobia, of racism, of misogyny, over a message of inclusiveness.
Okay. I liked that dance move that she did. I'm going to do that at the club next time I go to the club. That was fierce. If I was there, I probably would have clapped with him too, because that was cool. But again, she's doing that whole narrative thing that gets us all off this conversation. So hopefully somebody will bring us back on track.
A message for the people, by the people, of the people.
For the people, by the people, of the people. That's very misleading, Sonny, because he won the popular vote. That's the whole reason we're having this conversation. He not only won the Electoral College, he won the popular vote. States flipped from blue to red. The swing states, overwhelmingly, he crushed this. So this idea that everybody in the country is misogynistic, it's so far from reality. It's so irresponsible. If I was on the panel, I'd be like, can I just get up and leave? This woman's wasting my time.
What the problem is,
he won the popular vote.
Thank you. He won the popular vote. See, Alyssa just said what I said.
Can I say something before? We can do a second. The Democrats are the ones, they are the party that cares for the blue-collar voter. The Democrats are the ones who put in Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, union protection,
ACA,
unemployment insurance, and Obamacare. The Republican Party doesn't give a rat's patootie about it.
Clearly they didn't convince the voters.
Okay, this is all very important. So, point for Joy. That's actually a very strong point. The Democratic Party is known for being the party that's for the working class, right? Like she said, they established Medicare, Medi-Cal, Obamacare, Coverage California. Well, I'm in California. That means it's all under Obamacare. Food stamps and, workers' comp and all these things to take care of the working class. She's right about that. And that is a strong point. What she's not realizing is that point actually is biting her back, because if that is the Democratic initiative to take care of the working class, why was that not in the campaign? And she's saying the messaging didn't get through. Well, the argument is not that it didn't get through. The argument was that it wasn't there. It wasn't promoted in the campaign. You can't dismiss the voters of the working class that chose Trump if they didn't hear Kamala getting more real about how she was going to help in the situation that they were in. I'm sure that's going to come up more about what their concerns specifically were if Sunny will stop talking, because she keeps trying to take it somewhere else. But I do think that what Joy said should be listened to, but it's also part of why they should be reflective. I do love that Alyssa kind of confirmed that. She says it not only didn't go through, it wasn't there. That part was left out. That's why they voted for Trump.
All I can deduce is that it's the messaging. It didn't get through to people. They're not paying attention. That's all.
Yeah.
How condescending is that? The message, they didn't pay enough attention. No, Joy, that's why we're talking about this. They paid attention. It wasn't there. You can't expect them to see and hear a message that wasn't there. That's why they went somewhere else. They didn't get a message. So how condescending is that?
The Democrats have always been for the working people.
Exactly. And the Republicans
don't
care
about
about
it.
I think that the message of the
under Trump.
Democrats sounded elitist. You don't have value in the society
They
if you don't have a
sounded
college
that way,
degree.
but when you look at the proof,
yeah,
they weren't.
but Joy, it's condescending.
Yes, it is.
It's condescending.
What's condescending?
The way that the left speaks to its voters.
Oh my! I'm gonna cry. You better preach, Sarah. You better preach. I love that she said it's condescending. Call it what it is. It's condescending. The left, you just said it, Joy. Well, they're not paying better enough attention. Sunny just said, what's wrong with America? You're blaming them. You're kicking them down. You're blaming them. You're calling the Democratic voters that flipped and voted for Trump. You're calling them racist. You're calling them homophobic. You're calling them celebratory of a predator. You're calling them stupid. The list goes on and on. That they're what's wrong with America. Get a clue. Why is it always everybody else's fault? So I love that Sarah, although Sarah also voted for Kamala, did not vote for Trump. She's not a Republican. Even she's able to say, hold on, not okay. We're going into this delusion right now. This is condescending. You go, Sarah.
It really is.
A message of joy and inclusiveness?
No, the message of not being educated, being dumb, and what's wrong with America.
Who said that?
Sunny just did.
What is wrong with
Joy,
America?
my point here is that
that's not what Kamala Harris said.
No.
Okay, Anna. See how Anna had to come in. Well, that's not what Kamala Harris said. Sarah didn't say that. She said the party itself, meaning the own team. It's not just Biden, Harris, AOC. It's everybody. It's the whole vibe right now of the Democratic Party and what they're focusing on. They're leaving themselves behind. They're not promoting the solutions to their own problems. And when parts of the Democratic Party are vocalizing about it, they're being dismissed and called stupid, traitorous. That's super condescending. There's a problem within the messaging of the party itself. This is really monumental that Sarah is saying the silent part. It's not enough to just be a fan of the blue and the Democratic Party. At some point, you have to look at the politics itself and whether or not it's serving its own party. It's giving its own solutions to its own problems. Sarah is saying it's not. Anna's trying to interrupt her to pull a Sunny and to get her off base. Please silence your mouth, Anna. You're not helping this. You're detracting her. Right now, Sarah is cooking. She's hitting a nerve. She's hitting the heart of this issue, and you're trying to distract her away from it. I wish somebody could put tape on your mouth. Let the woman speak.
My point is, I don't blame Joe Biden. I don't blame Kamala Harris. Go back as far as you want. I blame a messaging within the Democratic Party.
You don't
Amen.
blame the Republican
Can I just
Party at
finish
all?
my point?
Really, Sunny? You don't blame the Republican Party at all? We're not talking about the Republican Party. The Republican Party won. Let's talk about the Democratic Party. Let's talk about us. Let's talk about what we're doing wrong, Sunny. Stop projecting. Sally, why did you break the vase on the table? Well, Jimmy broke a vase last week. Okay, well, we'll talk about that another time. We're talking about you. I just saw you broke the vase. So, it's fine if Jason or my sister Cynthia broke one. Let's focus on what you just did. That's the topic of the conversation. Right now, we're talking about the Democratic Party and what the Democratic Party can do better. And Sunny and Anna want to interrupt and throw it to something else. They hate this. Their hand is being held to the fire. The mirror is coming up for them to look at. And they're like, I can't. I don't want to learn. I don't want to grow. I don't want to get better. You cannot get better. You cannot grow. You will not win the next election. Learn from history or you're doomed to repeat it. Do the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. That's insanity. So at least Sarah is saying, if we want to come up higher as Democrats, I think Sarah's an independent. If you as Democrats want to come up higher, now's the time to focus in and have the hard conversations. And we're here right now, and you're desperate to run away. I'm so glad she's like, let me finish. You better keep cooking, Sarah.
I obviously have a problem. Anyone has a problem with Donald Trump. The bigger question should be, yes, Sunny, why did they vote for him?
Yes.
In sweeping...
So they need to be introspective.
No, we need to be introspective.
I love you, Sarah. She's like a pit bull. She is not letting Sunny out of this one. Well, see, no, they need to be introspective. No. We need to be introspective. You are not getting out of this. Sunny's hand is burning by being put to the fire. She's looking at herself in a mirror and she cannot stand it. She's about to turn to stone, and Sarah is not letting up. Sarah, what a hero. Whether I agree with Sarah or not, I have so much respect for somebody that can say, we're having this hard conversation. I'm not going to allow somebody to come in and change the narrative because it makes you uncomfortable. I want to win next time. I don't want Trump to be in office office again. So I want to see what we did wrong and let's fix it. Sarah, you are amazing. Gosh, you're amazing. Obsessed.
We voted for Kamala Harris. We need to say what didn't resonate with the voters. Do you know what didn't resonate with the voters? When they were saying we don't feel safe and the left focused on defund the police and bail reform. Yeah. When they said we're worrying about... Can I just finish real quick? Let me just finish real quick.
Gosh, Sarah, you are killing this. Yes, silence her. You are cooking right now. You are hitting the nail on the head. You are bringing out all of the medicine for the disease, and people want to grab that medicine and throw it away. Girl, you better keep cooking, because this is not about politics even. I mean, even though that's the conversation, this is about how to get better. This is about how to grow. You don't get better. You don't grow if you refuse to look inward and say, this is what we did wrong. This is why we failed. And let's talk about how we can fix it. Sonny, if you had any wisdom at all, you would put tape on your mouth and just listen to Sarah cook and let it in and watch the taping of this and rewind it and watch it over and over and over again, because she is cooking so hard right now.
When they were focused on
reading... It's only an hour show, ladies.
Joy.
Here goes Joy. Okay, well, Sonny silenced her mouth, but let's have Joy come in and detract again. That wasn't a funny comment, Joy. That was unnecessary. You're interrupting Sarah, who is cooking right now, because you also don't want to look in the mirror and see how you contributed to this party not winning the election.
When they were focused on renaming schools, there were people saying, hey, students are destroying colleges. I paid for that. I sent them there. They can't learn. And everyone apologized for it and didn't want to attend to it. They also denied the border was a crisis and kept saying, no, it's fine. This is not a...
There was a border bill, though. There was a border bill.
Yes, but Joy, my point is they screened and screened and screened. They didn't vote for him because he's a racist or a misogynist. They voted because they needed help in their everyday lives.
My God. My gosh. I'm sorry. It has been a very long time since I've seen someone cook this hard on national television to a liberal audience with a liberal panel, being somewhat of a liberal herself, but just hitting it so on the nail. This is not common. It's hard for either side, I will admit, for liberals or for conservatives, Democrats for Republicans. Nobody likes to be introspective. It's uncomfortable. So there is a part of that that I understand is human nature. But for some reason, this is more, I find, more a common phenomenon with the left, because the left really feeds on a lot of the narratives of being pro the underdog, which means that all of the things that are against the underdog are from the majority and the underdogs are oppressed. There is a lot of that. So we need to fight for equality. We need to fight against injustices. As honorable as I believe that is, the flip side of that is that it is harder to look at yourself if you are part of why you are not having a strong life, why you maybe are disenfranchised, maybe that you're not having the job that you want, or you're not going to the school that you want, or you're not making the amount of money that you want, or you're in jail more than you should be. A lot of that is your own fault, but people don't want to hear that. A lot of times I've seen on the left. So they blame white people, they blame men, they blame straight people. You get what I'm saying? For someone like Sarah, who has a lot of those views, to put them on hold for a minute, to get very real and say, we're doing something wrong. We did something wrong, and we have proof, we have receipts. Let's fix it. And be bold about that when nobody else wants to. I want to say my hat's off, but my hair is a mess. Figuratively, my hat's off to this woman. I want to kiss her.
The majority of this country, because there's every stat coming out on the people willing to self-reflect are showing these.
Oh, wait, they're going to say I'm a racist and a misogynist in the exit poll?
Okay, again, see, Joy's trying to crack a joke. So what? People, you do think they're going to really confess to being racist and misogynist? Just drop it, Joy. Let Sarah cook. Sarah is handing you some religion right now.
This is me giving you a little religion. Let me give you a little religion.
And all you can do is pull a Sonny and go to scapegoating all over again. I don't have the patience to be on a panel like that without losing my cool entirely. But Sarah is bold. She's strong. She's cooking, and she's not stopping. She's silencing the people that are interrupting her to make sure that her point is heard. I want to be her when I grow up. When I grow up, I want to be Sarah Haynes.
think 74 million people are racist.
Every racist and misogynist voted for Donald Trump. Not everyone that voted for Donald Trump was a racist and misogynist.
I agree with that.
That needs to be on a t-shirt. Every misogynist and racist voted for Donald Trump, yes. But not everybody that voted for Donald Trump is a racist and a misogynist. That is probably the statement that needs to be going global right now. Not just in our country, but global. Because the whole world watched this election. If they keep hearing, I'm going to cut you out of my life if you're a Trump voter, you've already seen it online, right? If you voted for Donald Trump, we are not friends. We are not family members. I'm disowning you. Let him go. Honestly, that person cannot have nuanced conversation. Do not feed that. They're doing you a favor. I know that sounds harsh. Don't fight to be loved by someone or accepted by somebody because you have a nuanced view. Clearly, you're not a racist or a misogynist or a homophobe or any of those other things if you've been friends with this person this whole time until now because you voted for Donald Trump. They're not able to let in anything other than black or white. So let them go.
Everyone swept.
Yes.
They swept every category. And the reason they did is to say, hey, guys, no excuses this time.
Mm-hmm.
Look,
they lost everything.
There's still half a country that allows its environment to be ravaged, its children to be shot. It's
There's still half a country that doesn't agree with him. Not really. He won the popular vote. So the majority of people agree, not maybe with him on everything, but agree that he is the better fit for president right now.
To be hoarded, it's worker to be exploited, it's poor to starve, it's cops to murder.
So you think America's the
country
problem?
in trouble.
It's America's
so
the problem.
The
Trump
is
not going to make it better.
Anna, hold it for the next segment, right?
I love it, Sarah. So America is the problem. The voters are the problem. That's what Sunny's saying. Yep. Because she's never wrong. Her and her party are never wrong. So people, the voters, over half the country, by a landslide, are wrong. Even though Biden was the last president and he won. Everything was more blue than it was red. So what happened in 4 years? She doesn't want to look at that because more self-reflection. Something flipped this country and made people over it and want to vote for Donald Trump. I believe it was the hyper left. A lot of it has to do with the hyper left and even social justice people like me who are for equality, who have been fighting for equality. We got left behind because the culture went so far radical that even I was like, y'all, now you're just making up reasons to be oppressed. Now you're making up excuses to fight for something that you don't have to fight about. You're fighting a ghost. It doesn't exist. You're not oppressed. It's too much. And I think that even regular Democratic social justice people that happen to be in minorities, they were over it. They were over the ultra left that went way too far. And they just like, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm flipping. I'm turning red. I need some kind of sanity back. Because when you are that hyper left, it's insatiable. No matter how much you give, no matter how much you bow down, no matter how much you DEI and hire people for positions that they don't deserve, it's never enough. It's like that book. If you give a mouse a cookie, he's going to want a glass of milk. If you give him a glass of milk, he's going to want a place to sleep. It's more and more. Gimme, 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 gimme. And I think people were just done. I think that's why people are just like, I'm not going to be politically correct anymore. I'm done. I'm done.
We'll be right back. Hold it. Yeah.
I'm going to leave it there for now because we've had a long conversation and we could keep talking about this, but I don't want, you guys to get too bored with all of this. Actually, it's pretty entertaining, but I would love to know what you think about this conversation. My name is Gilbert. If you're new here, if you stuck all the way to the end, thank you for staying. I do a lot of pop culture commentary. I'm doing a lot of political stuff, social stuff. I would love it if you subscribe to me. I would love it if you dropped a comment and let me know what you think about this conversation, what you think about why Donald Trump not just won, but overwhelmingly won. What is that a reflection of? Do you agree with me that it's maybe a little bit of a lot of things? It's about living your life practically. It's a little bit about how ultra woke things have been for a while and just rolling your eyes at that because it's gotten too out of hand. What is your view about all of this? I'm for the nuanced conversation. I don't believe so much in the black and white. There's times for that, but for the most part, I think that these issues are far more nuanced, far more complex. And that's what I love to talk about. I don't like just demonizing or vilifying somebody by who they danced or voted for. Sorry, somebody's throwing a party next door. But go ahead and leave me your comments. I look forward to connecting with you more to come on this channel and related issues. Till then, I love you. God bless you. And I will see you in the next video. Mwah. Bye.